There's a real coup in Syria. Rebels have captured Aleppo and are marching to Damascus. Assad is begging for help from Russia and Iran. Turkey and the United States are coming in. This is Ilya Brizak. Let's discuss it. Syrian rebels have captured 120 locations in Syria in 48 hours. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham forces are occupying one town after another, almost without resistance. The defense of the forces of Bashar al-Assad's regime is disorganized. The rebels are moving confidently from one settlement to another. They are appropriating abandoned equipment and taking control of positions. There is no obvious resistance. Experts explain this by the fact that the Assad regime's army is experiencing a cascading collapse of defenses. Otherwise, it is hard to explain why the rebels entered a city of 2 million people so easily. There are regular reports that Syrian regime soldiers are burning their own weapons depots to prevent them from falling into enemy hands and fleeing from cities approached by the rebels. In addition, the Assad regime's army has ordered a general retreat from the city of Aleppo and is reportedly concentrating forces near the city of Hama, where battles for the city are likely to take place. The Syrian government has officially appealed to Russia and Iran for immediate military intervention, and also issued a statement that it will soon launch a counteroffensive to regain all lost territories and recapture the city of Aleppo. But it's important to remember that Russia is fully occupied with Ukraine right now, and Iran has no idea what to do with Trump's arrival, so it is being as cautious as possible. Meanwhile, opposition forces have densely taken control of the city of Aleppo. According to the Turkish newspaper Yeni Shafak, the rebels have occupied the police station and the local administration building, released a large number of prisoners, and are massacring Shiite symbols, raising Free Syria flags on the citadel of Aleppo, walking around the city. And residents are not only not resisting, but are welcoming the rebels, assisting the units entering the city. According to some reports, the rebels also eliminated the head of the Assad regime's military security service, General Ahmad Khudr al-Ali. Rebel leader Abu Muhammad al-Julani has arrived in Aleppo. How are Russia, Iran, Turkey, and the U.S. involved in the overthrow of Assad in Syria? And where can this conflict lead to at all? Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said that Turkey is not involved in the conflicts in Aleppo and emphasized that the necessary precautions are being taken not to provoke a new wave of migration. And Turkish President Erdogan said that now the voluntary return of Syrian refugees to their homeland should accelerate. In Russia, all these events are perceived as a betrayal of Turkey. The Kremlin issued an official statement that Turkey violated the Astana and Sochi agreements, and Damascus has every right to urgently restore security in Aleppo using all kinds of weapons and various methods. So we should expect Russia to send some kind of aid to Assad in the near future, despite the fact that Putin's main forces are busy in Ukraine. And if the help from Russia will be big, which is unlikely, then most likely terrible bombardment of Aleppo will start again. Russia is certainly panicking about what is happening in Syria. The Assad-controlled regime is crumbling before our eyes. But Russia understands perfectly well that there is only one choice: either abandon Assad, but hold on to its position in Ukraine, or rescue him again, which means diverting significant resources from the Ukrainian front, where resources are already scarce. The Russian defense minister has already removed Lieutenant General Sergei Kisel as commander of the Russian troops grouping in Syria. The Russian contingent has folded its military bases near Aleppo, Hama, and Deir ez-Zora, and is rushing to its bases on the coast, particularly the Hmeimim base. Moscow has already sent 2 warplanes to Damascus to offer some resistance, and has promised to give new weapons within the next 72 hours. In the meantime, the Syrian army has been ordered to follow safe retreat orders. In all likelihood, we will see a major clash of forces in the coming hours, and the SNA and the Turks haven't even joined in yet. It is obvious that Turkey in this situation has found itself on the front line of confrontation when NATO, defending its interests, actually uses it to contain Russia. And Erdogan is pursuing 2 goals. Firstly, the capture of Aleppo, which is a strategically important region for Turkey. Since its liberation in 2016 with the help of Russia, Aleppo has become a symbol of defeat for Erdogan. And secondly, as a means of pressure on Bashar al-Assad. This would allow Turkey to solve the refugee problem, and also, with the help of Damascus, keep the Kurdish threat in northern Syria under control. Therefore, shifting its focus from Ukraine, Russia probably considers the southern direction of Syria as a new priority, which makes Ankara its potential target, despite all the agreements on gas and other trade relations. Perhaps Erdogan subsequently wants to exchange control of Syria for the same gas. We will see soon. It is obvious that all these events are becoming very complex in strategic terms, and point to the need for immediate diplomatic efforts to prevent the escalation from escalating into a third world war. war. Meanwhile, the Syrian National Army, SNA, has announced the launch of Operation Freedom Dawn. There are fierce clashes between the SNA and the Assad regime in the region. Thus, the Turkish-backed SNA has opened a second front against the Assad regime. The Kurds should not be forgotten in this conflict. Following the advance of the Syrian rebels, including those directly supported by the Turkish regime, Kurdish forces receiving assistance and equipment from the United States have been deployed at key points to protect the Kurdish population in areas where the rebels can penetrate. According to Syrian media reports, Kurdish forces entered the area in the north of the city of Aleppo and received an airport in the west of the city from the Assad regime, but they later retreated to the east, completely liberating the city from the rebels. At the same time, the Kurds are afraid that Erdogan's people will be dangerous for them in the future, which is not without reason. In Iraq, in turn, large-scale military preparations are underway. Iraq, worried about its security, closed all borders with Syria, deployed several units on its border, and the Shiites of Iraq promised to send Assad help with troops. As for the Iranians, they are no less concerned than Russia, since the Iranians are now waiting and do not understand what to do with the arrival of Trump. It is not surprising that Iran blames Israel for everything that is happening in Syria. In Iran, they seriously state that the Syrian rebels are a joint multi-move game between Turkey and Israel. They are also confident that if Iran continues to act slowly, the overthrow or even elimination of Bashar al-Assad will be only a matter of time. The Iranians believe that support for Syria should not only be active, but also as decisive as possible. Otherwise, other countries in the region will become the next targets after Syria. And of course, they are right in some ways. If the regime of Bashar al-Assad is overthrown, then the next in line will probably be the regime of the Ayatollahs. Also, information is spread in the Iranian media that dozens of wireless communication devices, including satellite devices and other communication devices, have exploded in the Syrian military. That Mossad is directly involved in the advancement of terrorists. In such a funny way, Iran is trying in every possible way to tie Israel to this. And of course, the Americans. There is information that the United States is entering the hostilities. It is reported that the forces of the Free Syrian Army, FSA, are moving forward from the American base of At Tanf, located in the Syrian province of Homs at the junction of Iraq and Jordan. And if this information is confirmed, then most likely the question of eliminating Assad has already been closed. All decisions have been made, and the U.S., with its second most important strategic ally in NATO, is simply squeezing an asset called Syria from the Russians and Iranians. Assad's military capability is based on 4 points. 1, Russian aerospace forces, which are currently occupied by Ukraine, 2,000 Lebanese Hezbollah fighters, who were mostly destroyed by Israel in Lebanon, 3 Wagnerites, who disappeared after Prigozhin's death, 4, and the Alawite Tigers, the Assad regime's special forces, which is running as fast as they can. And all these conflicts are certainly interconnected. Without Ukraine and Israel and the wars they are waging, the Syrian rebels' offensive would be impossible in principle. And now the Americans, probably not waiting for Trump to officially occupy the White House, have already begun an operation to kick out Iran. Hezbollah was the main deterrent for Iran. But now that it has been decapitated by Israeli forces, this undoubtedly frees the U.S. up. Write in the comments what you think about this. Boosty and Patreon for those who want to support the channel. See you.